Please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? You may take your seat.
Please introduce yourself and spell your name.
My name's Jeffrey Lacasse. Sorry. Jeffrey Lacasse.
How are you employed, sir?
I'm an associate professor at Florida State University.
How long have you been with FSU?
I came back in 2013. I was also there from 2000 to 2008.
Have you always lived in Tallahassee?
No, I'm from California originally. I went to Phoenix for 5 years from 2008 to 2013. Really loved Tallahassee, so when I got a tenure track job here, I was excited to return in fall of 2013.
Did you have a relationship at some point with Wendy Adelson?
I did.
What was that relationship?
We met in the fall of 2013. Apologize for my voice. I'm still on water.
You've been out of water.
We started dating in the fall of 2013, September 2013. We dated casually in the fall and more seriously in the spring and summer of 2014.
When did the relationship end?
Well, that's a little tricky, but basically July of 2014.
All right, we'll walk through that a little more in detail. During the time that you were dating Ms. Adelson, wait, we need to move it.
Is this about the right distance here? Can we?
I know, it's hard to get right.
Yeah.
All right, so during the time that you were together, did you become aware of Wendy Adelson's recent divorce from Dan Markel?
I did. On our first several dates, that was the primary topic of conversation.
And were you aware that this was an unusually nasty divorce?
Yes.
During the time that you were dating her, did you become aware that even subsequent to the divorce, there was ongoing litigation pending?
Yes.
Did you know Dan Markel?
I met Professor Markel. I did not know him. I probably spent 10 to 15 minutes in his presence across the course of that relation.
And were you specifically familiar with the litigation concerning Wendy Adelson relocating with her children to South Florida?
Yes, that was the topic of conversation.
If you know, did Wendy want that relocation to take place?
Yes, on our second date, the topic of relocation and being stuck in Tallahassee came up, and the date was ended abruptly when she went to the bathroom and returned with tears in her eyes and just left the date because she was so upset. That was about two and a half months after it was denied.
All right.
And it continued to be a topic, but that's...
But that issue seemed to be specifically what was upsetting her on that day?
Definitely was she. She left the group date suddenly because it came out.
All right. And did she have family in South Florida?
Yes.
And what family was that?
Well, my brother, Charlie Adelson, Harvey Adelson, her father, and Donna Adelson, her mother, were the ones primarily that I heard about.
Were you also familiar with the litigation seeking to limit the exposure of Wendy Adelson's young sons to her mom, Donna Adelson?
Yes, in spring of 2014, yes.
And did you observe Wendy to be taking that filing seriously? Did she seem stressed or worried about it?
Every filing, she took it seriously. When she was stressed, I reported to DPD that every time a motion was filed, it affected our relationship because she's very upset.
During the time that you were in a relationship with Wendy, did you have an occasion to meet her family members in South Florida?
I did. Well, I met her parents mostly up here. So I met Donna and Harvey Adelson probably 8 to 12 times here. I met the defendant down in South Florida one time.
All right, so you only met Charlie Adelson one time.
That's correct.
When was that?
That was the evening of March 11, 2014.
And had you already met the parents several times at that point?
Yes, probably 6 times of that day, maybe more.
So they came here quite frequently?
Yes.
What about Catherine McGowan? Did you meet her?
She was present at the dinner that I attended on March 11th, where it was myself, the defendant, Wendy Adelson, and her went to dinner that evening, March.
You're saying the defendant. Do you see the person in the courtroom?
Yes.
That you had dinner with? Who's that?
It is Charles Adelson, known to me as Charlie.
Could you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
Yeah, he's sitting in the center of the defense table wearing a light blue tie and Navy Blue Sports Co.
And so Catherine Magdalena, how was she related to this family or affiliated with the family?
I was introduced to her as Charlie's new girlfriend, essentially.
And was it your understanding that this was the first time that Wendy was meeting Catherine Magdalena as well?
That was my understanding, and she was excited about that. About Catherine Magdalena, was the main patient, yes.
All right, so anything unusual happened at the dinner?
Well, at the dinner, Miss Magdalena mentioned that she had I guess it was her ex-common law husband, who had a criminal history that sounded very serious, and I did raise my eyebrows at that.
Did Charlie Adelson seem disturbed or upset by Catherine Magdalena mentioning that?
I don't recall him seeming disturbed, no.
And what about after dinner? Where'd you go next?
We went to Mr. Adelson's home, and we sat in his hot tub and had a few drinks and talked for a little while.
Who's the we that sat in the hot tub?
Yeah, myself, Wendy Adelson, and Charles Adelson was in the hot tub for a while, and his then roommate, Dr. Jerome Obed.
All right. So Dr. Obed was living with Charlie Adelson at that time?
That was my understanding. That was his roommate.
All right. And where was Catherine Magdalena at that time?
She did not accompany us back to the house.
In the hot tub, did the defendant make some statements that were of interest in this case?
Yes.
What were those?
Continue.
More.
True.
The hot tub.
Yes, he did mention having contacts on both sides of the tracks, meaning dentists, lawyers, professional class people, but they also had people he knew that were a criminal element. Yes.
What's the thing about these people that are the criminal element?
He mentioned specifically, I repeated it to DPD, about Cuban neighborhoods where you might find that criminal element.
Okay, so he nexus to those type of people.
That's what he said.
And
yes.
what was the context of this? Was he just seemed scared about it, worried about it, or something else?
Seemed to be bragging.
I want to ask you about a meeting with Wendy at a coffee shop that occurred on June 4th, 2014. You recall that?
I do.
What happened at the coffee shop?
We went to the Red Eye coffee shop to have coffee just to meet midday, and Miss Adelson canceled a trip that we had planned for July 11th to 17th to go see my parents, which was a big deal in the relationship, and she abruptly canceled it.
Did she offer an explanation as to why she needed to cancel the trip?
Not one that made sense. She said that she feared that we would not get back in time, and she emphasized, had to be back on the 18th to pick the kids up out of school, which would have been July 18th, 5 p.m., is my understanding. And I couldn't fathom why in the summer going through Atlanta you would be able to get back in time. It didn't make any sense to.
So she was worried you could be delayed and she wouldn't be able to pick the kids up.
Right, and we had people who could babysit. It didn't make any sense at all, but that was what she said. That day was very important.
All right, and so that occurred on June 4th.
It did.
All right, did you see her later that evening?
I did hang out with her and her children.
And was that her residence on Aqua Ridge?
Yes, ma'am.
And how was she that night? And this is June 4th, right?
It is. She was a nervous wreck to the point where she was sick to her stomach. Asked me to get to her house as soon as possible. She was in that much distress. And she didn't have food poisoning or flu or anything obvious. She was just a nervous wreck. So I went to her house, immediately went to the store to get her Pepto-Bismol and a couple of things from the convenience store. I have the credit card receipt is why I recall that so specifically.
And did you have any idea why she was acting? I assume this is unusual for her.
It was fairly unusual. The degree of severity was definitely unusual. But that whole week, June 4th to 9th, she was very nervous. So.
And she didn't. Did she tell you it was because killers were in Tallahassee to kill Dan Markel, did she?
No, I was stunned to later find out that there was hitmen in town at the time.
Okay. So let's go forward a little bit to this TV situation. Do you know anything about Wendy's TV being broken?
I do.
And when's was the TV broken, if you know?
Between June 11th and 18th, I think it's closer to the 11th, but 100% in that week.
And how do you know it was in that week?
Because we rented a movie, How to Train a Dragon 2, to give the kids a special movie night. And I have text messages where I'm discussing having seen the movie by the 18th with friends.
So you were able to a fair amount of
Yeah, they were friends. Yeah.
All right. So do you get the movie or?
Well, it was back in the day, it was Redbox. So I rented a DVD from a Redbox. It was 24K.
All right. And go over there with the movie, and what happens when you arrive?
I walk in the door and Ms. Adelson asks me to look at her television because there's something wrong with the television.
And what was wrong with the television?
Well, I turned it on and I was immediately confused because it really shouldn't have been a question. It says you turn the TV on, it's been struck by an object and is damaged and basically unusable.
Can you explain what the damage looked like?
Yeah, it looked like somebody stood in front of it, took their fist, and hit it like that was my first impression.
Kind of like a shatter mark with spiders.
Yeah, and like an impact crater, and then there's, from that, and it's all pixelated and distorted, which makes it very difficult. Really, no one would watch this TV unless you had to. And I had second thoughts about that. I looked around the room. Maybe the kids broke it, so I looked all around the room, and it didn't seem plausible that the children broke it. They're very small. This object had to be kind of heavy. I brought a ball around with them. I just couldn't see how the kids could have done it.
But you didn't see how it done it.
I didn't see it. I didn't know for sure. And I didn't know we'd be discussing this in a murder trial, so I didn't investigate further or think about it very much, to be honest with you. I just thought, okay.
Were there other TVs in the house?
There was a TV in the back bedroom, a similar make and model that we had watched television with the kids before on that TV before, so yes.
Is that where you watched the movie that night?
No, I went to go hook up the DVD player in the back room. Miss Adelson insisted that it would not work, and actually stopped me from even trying. So thought that was very odd, but I didn't want to argue. And it's her house, her TV, her kids, so I said, okay.
So did you watch the movie on the broken TV?
Yeah, we gave the kids movie night where we watched a movie on a broken television that was distorted enough that you could follow what was happening, but the kids are whining and crying the whole time. And I wasn't whining or crying exactly, but I was tempted to because it was pretty frustrating. And I just didn't understand, what was going on. And of course, I had related that this TV is broken, it's unwatchable, it's not covered by warranty, and to get a new TV, and I offered to go do that for her anytime she wanted. She's a busy single mom. I'll run by Best Buy, get you a new TV. It was not like an 8-inch TV or something that was really that luxurious. It was a TV like you'd see in a dorm room, so we could have replaced it right away.
All right, did you end up getting a new TV?
No, she turned me down several times on that offer, and again, it's her house. I tried to respect her boundaries, and I said, oh, okay. But it was inconvenient because after dinner, it's nice to be able to put the kids in front of that TV while you clean up the dishes and stuff. And just sat there being an inconvenience for what?
All right. I want to ask you about, when is Ms. Adelson's birthday?
April 22nd.
Nice.
Earth Day.
I've got this out of order. Let's skip over that for now and go to the big fight in June. Ms. Adelson mentioned that there was a big fight toward the end of June. Do you recall that?
Yeah, that's the weekend in June 27th, 28th.
Where were you when that fight occurred?
We were in Gainesville. Ms. Adelson accompanied me for a work trip. We were all scheduled for she accompanied me on a work trip, and we ended up having a pretty big argument Saturday night in the hotel.
When did that have to do with you accusing her of seeing other men?
That was one of the issues. There'd been a lot of tension bubbling. That was the major issue. But just to give that some context, I suspected very strongly she was seeing other men. Of course, your office had confirmed recently to me that there was multiple online active dating accounts the whole time we were supposed to be exclusive. But just to give context to that, that was combined with Wendy promising me the world in June. talking about me moving in. Shouldn't get a Jeep. You should get a car. The kids' car seats will fit in. The kids should start calling you daddy. It was the most outrageous one. And so she's like blowing herself at me over the top in a way that felt totally disingenuous and fake. And at the same time, I think she's being on her guys. So I just kind of boiled over. I tried to have like a serious, honest relationship conversation with her, and that didn't go very well.
So you were kind of, at least up until all of this started happening, you were kind of full steam ahead, and it seems like school's a little stop and go, hot and cold. Is that?
It was a roller coaster, is what I would say. And I had felt since April that I was perhaps being strung along. I had that intuition. I couldn't fathom a reason why you would string a guy along like that. It didn't make any sense at the time.
All right. So we're in June, like 28th range.
Okay.
Okay. When do you come back from Gainesville?
The morning of the 29th, after this fight or this argument, we drive back to Tallahassee. I had another ride back, and I offered to take that other ride if the fight was that bad, because we could have broken up after this. That was, she wanted to ride back.
You rode together.
Yeah, we rode together.
All right. So you rode back together, and then was she leaving that day?
I believe it was I thought she picked up the kids the next day from Professor Markel's house, and that's when she met Amy Adler, and that was at the Gilderherb.
Amy Adler was Dan's girlfriend at the time?
Yes.
Right. So it's at some point after the big fight and the return from Gainesville, does she leave to go to South Florida?
Yeah, I never. A day or two later, she definitely leaves to return to South Florida. She's in South Florida by July 1.
All right. And was that the trip that she was there for her dad's birthday?
That's correct.
Did you attend the dad's birthday?
No, I was never invited to the dad's birthday.
All right. And were you aware what the big gift was for dad's birthday?
No.
All right. So when did you see Wendy next after she leaves to go to South Florida? Or I guess after you return from Gainesville?
But during that 2-week period, we're exchanging emails, texts, long phone calls, video chats with the kids. Things are up and down, but it seemed like it's probably going to be okay. That's the impression I was given by Miss Adelson. Or I was being strung along 2 more weeks. But I see her again on the 13th when she comes back in town and is excited to have a date with me. So we had a date.
All right. So now we're at July 13th, 2014.
That's correct.
So within a week of the murder.
That's right.
Okay. Tell us about your interactions with her that day.
Yeah, we went to dinner and a movie, and we returned to our house on Aqua Ridge.
All right. And did she tell you anything asked to tell you anything in confidence that evening?
Yeah, in a very serious tone of voice. The topic of conversation as we're walking up to the house is about relocation, being stuck in Tallahassee, and Danny, as the conversation always was about Dan Markel. She said in a very serious tone of voice, "Can I tell you something in confidence?" Fourth voice.
I think I'd be judged by asked to approach.
From there, watch us go into a store you love, but we'll call to the step down and let us stand. Okay, please step back outside. Everyone can be seated. Bring up both the motion in limine and the prior order that has been issued on this letter. Ruling that was made as to the defense motion in limine concern the state eliciting this as a part of its close and plea. However, Mr. Rothbaum, at this point, Miss Adelson has specifically denied making this statement. Why is this an improper ground for the state to explore this on impeachment?
It's still hearsay, Your Honor. It's double hearsay. It's not done.
All sorts of matters that otherwise would be inadmissible can become impeachment.
If Dr. Adelson, Charlie Adelson, made that statement, Mr. Lacasse, and he denied it, he could impeach him. They're impeaching another witness. That's not allowed. That's number one. Number two, I brought up
The
this issue.
impeachment of one witness's testimony through another, is that allowed?
But they're impeaching her to go to his statement. They're stuck with her answer. They could have kept on cross-examining her of why they thought her answer was wrong. They can't now backdoor it through hearsay in another witness. That was the whole point of the motion. Similarly, Judge, we brought this issue up first thing this morning, sidebar, because if they were going to be allowed to do it, I was going to ask Miss Adelson some other questions on this issue. They said they weren't going to do it. So I didn't ask her those questions. And I didn't ask her those questions because I didn't want to open the door to it. And I can't call Miss Adelson back as a witness because she has a Fifth Amendment right and I can't give her immunity. I brought this up for this very reason. She denied the statement yesterday. That's why I brought it up today. They can't backdoor a double hearsay statement based on a denial by that witness. Can't do it.
Ms. Kappelman.
Hearsay. Intentional, open one, specifically draws with a fine or flay.
This is not an insignificant fact or an immaterial one. Mr. Rauschbaum, if you wish to find some authority, I will give you 5 minutes to look if you have anything to argue as to this matter. Ms. Adelson has denied making the statement. She can be impeached. Here are other witnesses regarding this matter. I will give you an opportunity to find some authority. If there's something more specific you can point me to other than what you're arguing right now. Judge.
I brought this up this morning so that I could front it with Miss Adelson, and we were told, you were told, that they weren't going down this path. If I'd been told something different, I would have done something different that I can no longer do. It's precisely why I went sidebar first thing in the morning.
Is your responses to that portion of the argument, Ms. Kappelman?
After legal argument, I was asked if I was intending to offer double hearsay without any.
I assume he's making this on fairness grounds, which goes to this would have changed your strategy of how he examined the witness.
Was real specific how the witness. He came back to the so I'm not sure why I'll often want to raise that fact.
I was really specific this morning that the double hearsay related to my motion to eliminate related to Jeffrey Lacasse. You knew what I was talking about.
Hold on. My ears work perfectly well. You don't have to raise your voice. Make your argument, please.
Everyone, sidebar, knew exactly what I was talking. And we were told, Ms. Kappelman told you as an officer of the court that she was not going down that road. And so when Ms. Adelson was on the stand, I stayed away from it, not to open the door to it. She knew exactly what statement we were talking about. If you tell me you didn't know what statement I was talking about, I'll sit down. I was very specific that it was the double hearsay statement related to Jeffrey Lacasse, and we filed our motion in limine on. I was very specific, applied to this, and also the Juvia dinner. Those were the words specifically out of my mouth back there, because when she asked the questions of Miss Adelson, which were completely appropriate, I thought she might be going down this path. And so the first thing in the morning, we went sidebar so I could stop the charade. So that if the court were going to allow it to come in, I would handle it. He stayed silent. And I've been jumping up and down to try to prevent any possible mistrial twice, and still no mention of it. Completely unfair, completely improper, and it denies him his constitutional right of due process.
Yeah, and that's why I raised the issue. This goes to the fairness aspect of it. Take a brief 5-minute recess if you have any authority you wish to present. We'll entertain it further. Everyone him to sit in. Plus, either party has additional argument. I am prepared to rule at this point.
One thing I wanted to rate. No longer the state's diffuse. I think she do be brought back, so whatever additional questions think you have.
Well, for that report was capitalizing the ability to extend immunity. Which Roush found does not. He calls her as a part of as a part of the defendant's case. What is your response to that?
No, I mean, we're still in the state's courts.
Well, kids can't call a witness within the state's case.
You for it. I just want to have an infallible law. What she is going to be that word past it. Well, maybe there's something that could be worked out. That was, there's rolling.
Roush calling the outs.
Yeah, dressed on 9609 Florida rule and Crotany and Crawford and its progeny. And what I said before.
Very well. Court's ruling is as follows. The defense's motion of limine went to the state's ability as a part of its case in chief to present testimony from Mr. Lacasse that would be hearsay within hearsay. The motion of limine was granted on those grounds. However, the motion and limine and also the court's ruling did not discuss or limit in any way state's ability to present this information as impeachment. Ms. Adelson, at this point, she has testified, she has denied the statement taking place whatsoever. However, as it goes to fundamental fairness grounds, which are also a part of the ruling that has to be made, the defense did earlier at Sidebar ask if this was going to come up in some way. As it related to substantive evidence, I believe the state responded it was not. The state did not make any representations concerning impeachment. We'll find that this did affect the defense's ability, or their strategy, at least in examining the witness, as the witness also can invoke her Fifth Amendment right, and through a separate pleading, as stated through counsel, that she will invoke any Fifth Amendment right unless she is being granted immunity for that testimony. The ability of the defense to address this matter is compounded by the constitutional right of the witness and their inability to call her. On fundamental fairness grounds, I'm not going to commit the impeachment on this topic. You may proffer the testimony from there, and if the state is intending to recall the witness at that point, the issue of impeachment may be revisited. Does everyone understand? Go ahead.
My understanding of what I was asked is, was I intending to introduce any hearsay within hearsay for Mr. Lacasse? And my answer was that I would not introduce any hearsay without it prepping. I think it was clear what I was intending to do was to open impeachment for Ms. Adelson by drawing her attention to the specific date and time of the statement and asking her specifically if she made the statement, which she denied. I find it hard to believe that that doesn't alert the defense. In fairness, that that's what I'm intending to do, but that's what I did in the last trial successfully, which the defense, in this case, was in attendance. I think it's unfair to the state, but I understand your Honor's ruling and will be written.
Whispering in the witness so we can go through the proffer. Words are stock and trade. If you're uncertain, Ms. Kappelman, as to what Mr. Rauschbaum was raising, we probably should have clarified it at that point. Please bring in the witness. Also, so we don't have to go through this again, Mr. Rauschbaum, as it pertains to the other rulings in the defense's motion of limine that the court has previously addressed. Although they may not be, certain rulings pertain to the state's ability to present as substantive evidence. You understand this does not affect their ability to present it as impeachment as it pertains to all of the items that have been ruled on previously. June and Chimda, meaning everything that we've been previously addressing through these motions.
Well, they still have to follow the extrinsic evidence rule, collateral evidence.
My point being, something that cannot come in substantively can still be impeached with. You understand this?
Can? Yes.
I'm not saying it's necessarily going to happen, but so we're not doing this song and dance about any other matters. All right. If we need to have sidebars and you're attempting to clarify something, if you're asking specifically as to impeachment, you need to be specific as well.
Correct.
Ms. Dugan, please bring in Mr. Lacasse. You may be seated, Mr. Lacasse. Straddling you with the punishers and points and quartering on the copper jurors turn.
Mr. Lacasse, when we broke, we were discussing a statement made by Wendy Adelson on July 13th, 2014 at her residence here in Tallahassee. Do you recall which statement?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and what was that statement?
After asking to speak to me confidentially, she told me that last summer that Charles Adelson had looked into all possible options to take care of the Dan Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and that it would cost about $15,000. I revised the amount. I said potentially that could have been $50,000. I'm unsure of the amount. The rest of the statement, Greg Haltage chair.
So you weren't sure whether she said 15 or 50.
Right.
But she didn't say 15 or 50. She said one of these.
She said one number that I thought was 15 when I directed TPD, and I thought that could have been 50.
Okay, I'm with you. And this statement was made in what context? What was her demeanor?
Well, she has to speak to me confidentially. She was dead serious about it. It was a chilling statement. I had a reaction to it. My stomach flipped. Well, scary and weird. So it was a very serious statement she's making.
So clearly not a joke.
No, it was not a joke. There are other jokes in that domain. This was completely distinct and discrete from any joke. This was not funny.
And this statement was made within 5 days of Mr. Markel's murder by a hitman.
That's correct.
And was this said in any way in the context of the relocation issue?
Well, what preceded her saying that was a discussion of under what circumstances could she or would she leave Tallahassee, and she stated that the only way to leave Tallahassee was if something happened to Danny. That's what led into the statement I just
prepared. Thank you. That's the proper, Your Honor.
The cross-examination concerned the subject of the phony.
Who's that?
Any cross-examination as to the subject of the proffer.
John.
Go ahead.
The statement was chilling and serious, right?
Yes.
Did you go to the police?
I did not.
You were so scared about the statement that you alerted the police the next day, that night.
I did not.
Why not?
Because it was a past tense statement, and I thought Charlie was a scary guy, but it was about something supposedly he did last summer. I did not know there was a present case, a present instant threat. I did not know him and had visited Tallahassee. I didn't have the context.
So the statement comes out, and you say, all right, not to call the police. Hey, Wendy, you want to go out tomorrow?
That's not quite how it went.
No, you didn't try to go on a date with her the next day?
No, we did go on a date the next day, and then she cut off all contact without barely talking to me on that date. So I didn't have a lot of time to process it, but it was a shocking enough thing that took a day or two to process. Also, I had repeated that statement to a friend of mine before the murder, and I didn't get a reaction from her. Like, this is shocking. I saw feedback from a friend who verified that I made that statement before the murder, and she didn't say, oh, geez, you should call the police. So it wasn't just me. There was another person that I consulted with because it freaked me out. And I decided after talking to her, it was past tense. So probably not that dangerous. And we were really wrong. Maybe I should have called the police.
So Charlie Adelson lets you know that he's has friends in the criminal element, the Cuban criminal element, right?
Yes.
and you know that there's a heated dispute between this family. You testified to it today. Heated dispute.
Yes.
About relocation, about divorce.
Well, it's just no longer about relocation. But yes, there's an ongoing litigation for sure.
Right. And then Wendy Adelson tells you that this man, who is part of the criminal element, really looked into hiring a hitman.
She did say that.
And you thought, I'm not going to go to the police on that. That's your testimony, right?
That's the decision I made. It didn't really cross my mind because of the past tense nature of it. And I consulted with a friend, bounced it off of her before the murder. And neither one of us thought, oh, geez, let's call the police. So it's possible that probably is so dangerous that I should have called the police. Yeah, but I did not.
And so at this point in time, your relationship with Wendy Adelson was really bad, right?
It was hard to tell.
Was it tell that it was really bad?
It was a roller coaster ride constantly because you referred to the next night, the next day, the 14th. On the 14th, I got a warm, inviting call from Wendy Adelson, eager to spend time with me. Maybe trying to distract me, I don't know. But
well, we're going to get to the distracting part.
Yeah.
Because that's what this is all about.
But it wasn't the relationship was not in a great spot. I'll concede that to you.
So
yes.
Your testimony is that when this woman is about to break up with you, when she is avoiding you, when you have just been caught going through her phone and her...
How's she avoiding me?
I'm going to ask her, please.
Yes, sir.
Your testimony is that when you are on the outs with her, which the record will show you were during this time period, that she confides in you the most serious, the most important thing in her life. That's your testimony, yes or no?
Yes. She has a history of boarding out things that aren't in her own self-interest.
Judge, I would ask that to be stricken for the record. It's unresponsive.
This is years to follow for here's the end of the call.
Set by law.
In files. Or actually, this type of level, the court's ruling remains the same. You're not to inquire further as to the subject matter. We will revisit later if it comes to it. Please bring back in the witness, or at least he's with the jurors.
There is the celebration dinner.
And what does the jurors? Although the celebration dinner will grow. And the cherry? Boy, it was just in third statement, but it was saying if anybody's wanted.
All right, Drew.
One minute.
Okay. Where is the celebration dinner covered in your motion?
In that same person eliminated dog walk here with these statements being several of them. The first one was the statement that we just discussed, and the second one is that Charlie Adelson that he went to dinner with. That she told him that Charlie Adelson said it was a celebration dinner.
However, this statement is being directly attributed to your client that is heard by the witness.
No.
Mr. Lacasse, please step down and go.
Leaving that Wendy Adelson telling him what Charlie Adelson said.
Capital respond.
Yes, sir. I asked Miss Adelson about the dinner. She acknowledged there was a dinner. She did vomit at the dinner table, but denied calling it a celebration dinner or hearing Charlie Adelson call it a celebration dinner. I anticipate this witness would indicate that it was referred to as a celebration dinner.
The trash rum.
It's the solution. You rolled on the solution. It's the same motion amendment.
How? I'm looking at one now. Right, Miss Capelman, I believe, is find ourselves in the same position unless you have the argument which differentiates the television from the celebration dinner.
I think I understand what you mean, Judge. I don't have any additional argument other than this is offered for impeachment. It's not hearsay, not covered by the motion. The appropriate grounds were laid, and it's admissible as impeachment.
Do you wish to proffer the celebration dinner by Mr. Lacasse as well?
No, sir. I think my preference at this point, assuming your ruling will be the same on the celebration dinner, is to have Mr. Lacasse step off the stand, proceed with another witness, and revisit this issue after the lunch break.
Very well. Please bring the jurors back in. You may end your examination in front of them, and then Mr. Rauschbaum will have his opportunity. Mr. Rauschbaum, how long do you believe your cross-examination of the witness would take?
I'm a little
In front of the jurors.
confused. Are you?
The ruling is the impeachment as the celebration dinner is going to be excluded on the same grounds for now. If we need to revisit later, we will. But as to your cross-examination, that will be taking place in front of the jurors on a subject matter that's already been covered, how long do you think that's going to take?
Oh, she can stop asking questions of this way.
By the way, she just indicated she would.
Okay. For the issues that we've dealt with just now?
Prior to any proffers and sending the jurors.
Yeah. I'm not really too long. Probably, maybe 30 minutes.
Right, let's bring them back in. You can start your cross. We'll take the lunch break and then pick up from there.
Please bring back in the witness.
Everyone can be seated. Bailiff, if you can please instruct Mr. Lacasse to come back in. It's good to have any further direct examination for this witness. You may cross-examine him.
Thank you, Your Honor. Professor Lacasse, good morning.
Good morning.
You met Charlie Adelson one time, right?
That's correct.
There was a trip that you and Wendy took down to South Florida for a day after a spring break with kids that she taught.
Yeah, we went to Macaulay, and then we went over to Miami, or to Fort Lauderdale and Miami, just for the 11th. That's right.
And you had dinner, you said you had dinner on March 11th, 2014 at a place called Yardbird.
That's correct.
You recall Charlie was in his scrubs?
Don't recall that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
And Catherine Medbanoa was at that dinner, right?
She was.
And I think you said that she was bringing up stuff about her ex, right?
Not a lot, just a little bit, but she did bring that up, and I recalled it.
Is it fair to say that she was pushing for information
From who?
from Miss Adelson?
I don't recall that.
Well, was she trying to get Miss Adelson to talk about her ex-husband?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall there being a lot of discussion at the dinner about Professor Markel?
Don't recall a lot. It always came up for a minute. It came up in the context of Wendi Adelson's book. Most of it was Charlie talking.
You recall Katie asking questions about how the divorce was going, how he was treating her, where he was. You don't recall any of that happening at the dinner?
I do not recall any of that.
The only thing you recall is her saying something about her ex-husband.
That's what stuck out. We've had previous legal proceedings where I also could not remember. I can't. It's a dinner 9 years ago. I don't remember a lot of detail of it. It wasn't long either. It was just an hour.
Isn't it likely that she was talking about her ex-husband, her problems, because there was talk about exes?
I mean, that's pure speculation on my part. I don't recall. I do recall some other things we spoke about, but I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about them or not. They involved her client. They were, so I'm in my head trying to figure out how much space was there for other stuff. As I previously testified, most of it was Charlie telling us stories, kind of.
But Katie was clearly wanting to bring up the topic, as you said, about her family situation.
Well, I'm talking about 2 or 3 sentences here. I only recalled that in retrospect because there was a murder. I thought, oh, geez.
And it was important enough for Miss Kappelman to ask you about that, right?
Okay.
Right. So you remember her talking about her family situation.
Yeah, I also remember Charlie talking about a party he'd recently attended. There's a few other random things.
Fair enough. But yeah, I didn't ask, with all due respect, I didn't ask you. Let's just stick with the family situation.
Okay.
So Catherine Medbanoa was talking about her family situation, correct?
For 2 or 3 sentences, she mentioned that Sifredo Garcia, not by name, and the tensions with him. Yes.
You say that Charlie talked in the hot tub or the pool about having connections to the criminal element. That's what your testimony was, right?
Yes, starting with my initial statement to TPD, yes, sir.
And you're talking about your statement to TPD after the murder, right?
3 days after the murder.
And after you thought Wendy Adelson was trying to frame you for the murder, right?
I didn't think that in that interview. It took me some time to process.
You're aware that you were called in as a suspect for the murder, right?
Yes.
And after that point in time is when you gave that statement to TPD regarding what Mr. Adelson said. Just yes or no?
After I was called into the police station? Yes. Yeah, that's when I gave my statement at the police station.
Right. What I made it clear is, it's not like you had dinner and were in the hot tub with Charlie Adelson and you went back to Tallahassee and gave the statement then, right?
No, I mean, I have no reason to do that.
I understand that, Professor Lacasse. I'm just trying to make it clear to the jury when you gave TPD this statement. And the answer is you gave him the statement after the murder and after you were called in as a suspect on that murder.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, do you recall texting Charlie Adelson after you met with him?
I texted Mr. Adelson one time, yes.
Okay. And do you recall saying to him, "Hey, Charlie, it's Jeff," as in Wendy and Jeff. "Hey, man, thanks for your hospitality the other night. Sorry about the clusterfuck with the cab. It was great to finally meet you. I can tell how proud you are of your sister. I am too. She's really one in a million. Take care, dude, and look forward to seeing you again sometime soon." Do you recall texting him that?
I do recall texting him that.
Okay. You like hanging out with the criminal element?
It was my new girlfriend and his brother, who she was very close with. I didn't date anyone seriously for 12 days. I didn't think it was right to give a... I was polite rather than honest, let's put it that way. I mean...
Let me ask the question again. Do you like hanging out with the criminal element?
No, I don't do that.
Did Charlie Adelson text you, or did you text him?
I texted him. I can't remember if that was solicited by Wendy Adelson or not, but I texted him.
It wasn't solicited by Charlie Adelson, right?
No, we never spoke again, though.
Actually, he texted you back.
Right, I never...
And he said, "It was great seeing you. I'm glad you made your flight. Hopefully we can all hang out soon." You testified that Wendy was a wreck. Hold on 1 second, sorry.
One moment, Your Honor.
I've lost my foot. You testified about some of these divorce filings on direct, correct?
Yes.
And about Wendy, you testified that Wendy was a wreck about him, right?
Yes.
That's not what you thought in the spring of 2014, though, was it?
You're questioning whether... Here's what I thought in the spring of 2014. I noticed repeatedly her reacting to emotions and litigation and getting very, very upset. I'm not saying there was never any good times, but she was very upset when you filed something.
Do you recall sending an email to Wendy Adelson in March 27th of 2014 where you tell her that she's adapting really well to unpleasant circumstances and that she needs to give herself more credit?
That sounds familiar. I would say it got increasingly worse March, April, May, June in terms of her reactions to the entire situation. But I was sending an email, yes, trying to encourage my girlfriend at the time, yes.
So really, it got worse. Filings in March, April, and June.
No, I don't know when the last filing was. Her reactions, not just to filings, but the entire situation. Let me clarify. So.
Hold on. Okay. Would it surprise you that there weren't any filings?
No,
in May or June?
No, I'm aware of that.
Would it surprise you that there's been testimony in this courtroom that actually things got a little better?
Wendy's status didn't get better. My observation is that Wendy saw her spiraling downward in that time period is what I was trying to refer to.
Do you recall that in the spring, summer of 2014, Professor Markel asked Wendy's parents to babysit for him?
I didn't know about that, or I don't recall it if I did.
I'm sure you did. Do you recall telling law enforcement that your impression was that Professor Markel's filing was going to fail?
Yes, I was repeating things I'd heard from Wendy Adelson. So most of that content that was.
Sir, I'm just asking you for a yes or no reply.
Okay.
Let me follow up of where you get that information.
Okay.
I know you have an
Yes, I told police though. Yes.
So you told the police that Wendy wasn't concerned about Professor Markel succeeding.
No, not motion. No, she was highly anxious. She was highly anxious.
Did she think that the motion was going to be granted?
I don't think she knew. I think that's what caused the anxiety.
Didn't you tell law enforcement that your impression was that Professor Markel's motion was going to fail?
I did tell law enforcement that, yes.
And didn't you just tell the jury that that impression came from Wendy Adelson?
Well, from my interactions with her and partially my own opinion to clarify. But yes, that's true. Yeah.
You also told law enforcement that everyone in the legal community agreed with that assessment.
I didn't speak to everyone in the legal community.
Well, let's read your interview then. And let's see if it refreshes your recollection. You'll probably recorded. There you said, and I quote, everyone in the legal community agreed with that assessment. At 2 o'clock on 7/23/14, interview part 1, at 34:35 in the interview. You don't recall saying that?
Can you give me the date in the interview again, please?
7/23/2014, interview part 1, and 3/6/2015. You reiterated it at 34 minutes and 35 seconds into the recording. You don't recall saying that?
Vaguely. I do recall saying something like that. I'm a non-lawyer trying to figure out this situation. Getting different messages from different people.
I have no further questions right now, Your Honor.
At the time you were in the hot tub with the defendant, did you know that he was a criminal element? Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
Did you know he was conspiring to commit the murder of Dan Markel?
I had no idea.
All right, and when you were at dinner with he and Catherine Magvanova, did you know that she was conspiring to commit the murder of Dan Markel?
Well, no idea.
So you didn't know when you were in the hot tub that you were hanging out with a criminal element in that regard?
No.
I'll do this on the call at some point. Members of the jury, we're going to take our lunch break at this point. Once again, I'm going to remind you not to discuss the case with each other or anyone else. Do not look at any news coverage or discuss the matter that you put in with family. Enjoy your lunch break. We will get started once again at 1:15. Please report back by 1:10.